Welcome to the Midweek message. We're taking some lessons from the book of Ruth, and we're in Ruth chapter 1, and I'm reading verses 1 through 5 from the New International Version of the Bible. Ruth chapter 1 and verse 1. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech, and his wife's name was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab and lived there. Now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth, and they lived there about 10 years. Both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Let's look at these verses individually. Verse 1. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land, so a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. Now, the book of Ruth is a picture of life and the circumstances, good and bad, although in Ruth it initially begins with bad circumstances, and how these things happen to all people, and how that God is in control over all the ins and outs and ups and downs and good fortune and bad fortune, if you want to call it that, in life, although the name of God actually is not mentioned in the book of Ruth itself, or a reference to God in terms of Lord, Jehovah, anything like that. In the days of the judges, which were perilous times in the among the Jewish people and in their lands, there was a famine. Now, these things happen when difficulties occur in the natural world. Famines, fires, earthquakes, torrential rains, monsoons, hurricanes. Whenever things happen, people have a tendency to speculate about whether this is a pattern or a one-time thing, and how often these things will happen, and what does that mean to the world economy and the climate, and if it's changing or not. But these things occur, and sometimes there come famines in the personal life on a different level. But difficulties come, and sometimes we do not know the reasons behind all of them. But there was a perilous time in the land at this time. There was a perilous time nationally. It was a time of the judges, which is a very difficult time. And there was a famine in the land, so it was difficult physically. And so the man from Bethlehem, his wife, 2 sons, felt like they had to move. They had to go somewhere else. And sometimes circumstances force us into things that we would rather not do. Little explanation in verse 2. The man's name was Elimelech. His wife's name was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab to live there. So who were they? Elimelech, his wife Naomi, their 2 boys, Mahlon and Chilion. They packed up and moved out of the land that they would have preferred to remain in as their home. Lo and behold, tough time politically in the land, tough time societally, tough time physically because of the famine. Verse 3 says, now Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. Lo and behold, when they moved, the man died. The patriarch of the family, Elimelech, the husband, the spouse, the support, financially and emotionally and every other way, he died. Oh, what a terrible thing. Verse 4, it talks about the 2 sons. They married Moabite women. One was named Orpah and the other Ruth, and they lived there about 10 years. The boys got married. Your kids are going to marry people they live around. If they live in one area of the country, you're going to marry people from that area of the country in all probability. I understand it's a little different today than it was in those times, but they're going to marry people with whom they're familiar. That's why associations are so important. And they lived down there about 10 years. Then verse 5. Both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Lo and behold, more bad fortune, bad luck. The 2 boys also died. And so now you've got 3 women alone. The men in their lives have all died. Tough time societally, tough time physically, and now emotionally, and every other way. All their supports are gone. What are these women going to do? There will be times in your life when you too will wonder what you're going to do. Take heart. God is still in control.